Says anyway. All right. Well, welcome to Jules Undersea Lodge. Hopefully, some people are joining us. If not, welcome to the recorded version. But it is officially, again, in case you don't know, I'm Thane Milhone, Habitat Operations Manager, joined with Dr. Hunter Hines, Dr. Harrison Albert, my rock star aquanauts here. And we happen to be inside the habitat on the true 50th anniversary of Mission 1. So in 1972, November 18th, specifically in 1972, off the coast of southwest Puerto Rico, Cabo Rojo area, Mission 1 began. The first official mission. October 14th of 72 was the test mission, featuring Jan Koblik, Ed Geiger, and Russell Lloyd. But the first official mission with aquanauts Morgan Wells, David Olson, Michael Sheen, and photographer John Laughlin were the aquanauts for the first official mission. Now the thing is about about the whole project, really, to understand, is that in the summer of 1970, Tech Type 2 was wrapping up. The first official mission for La Chalupa was November 18th, 1972. So that's a very short period of time to go from finishing one habitat program and having to completely sell an entirely new habitat program and get that habitat built, shipped to Puerto Rico, and sunk to 50 feet on November 18th, so you could actually start this program. So that's probably one of the most astounding things about the project that not many people have paid attention to, is what it took to get it actually down on the ocean floor. That being said, 50 years later, we're now able to enjoy the habitat because of the work that was done back in 1972. So it's actually, in 72, was considered to be one of the most sophisticated underwater habitat ever built. And because of the events surrounding the mid-70s and the economy and the shift in the way manned underwater exploration was managed, we didn't see many more underwater habitats being built or implemented in that time. So really, for people in the know, the features of La Chalupa, or Jules Undersea Lodge today, are such that it still is considered to be the most sophisticated habitat ever built in terms of mobility and flexibility of mission. So that is a pretty spectacular feat, but it also speaks to the lack of manned undersea exploration we've had in the past few years, and that's something that we're working with these guys to turn around a little bit, maybe shift that trend. I mean, we know why that is. I mean, basically, and not many people think about this, but the fact of the matter is it's much easier to deal with the vacuum of space than it is to deal with the intense pressure at depth. You may have never thought about that, but it is. I mean, it's much less expensive and much easier to build a spaceship than it is to build a submarine that can go down to the deepest parts of the ocean. So much more complex to get a man down to the bottom of the Marianas Trench than it is to put him into space, unfortunately. But at the same point in time, the majority of our planet's covered with water, and maybe we should pay a little bit more attention to what's going on our own planet before we think we're going to go to Mars and start colonizing that. That being said, let's talk with these guys about what's actually coming up, because while we appreciate the fact that we're sitting in here on the 50th anniversary, we're not done yet. There's more work to be done for this habitat, and these guys are two of the guys that really have kind of helped drive that point home. So they were very interested in becoming aquanauts, very interested in getting inside this habitat and seeing what life was like to live and work in the sea. COVID got in the way and kind of delayed that, but they were chomping at the bit and ready as soon as we were reopened and ready to start hosting missions again. These guys were third or fourth mission in, I think, and not just coming down to hang out and get a new sea card that says Aquanaut on it, but actually to look at doing some science and proving that manned undersea exploration isn't done. There are still places for manned undersea exploration. There are still things that man can learn that ROVs or AI, isn't there yet on. So, we got to keep doing. So, Hunter, just tell us a little bit about, kind of what some of the first things you looked at when you came down into the habitat for that first mission was.
Well, first of all, was just seeing the feasibility of actually getting stuff down here, what the actual space looked like, and that was really a great thrill to be down here at depth. And we were able to bring down some portable microscopes you could fit in the palm of your hand, so that really opened up the whole floodgates where we can study. So looking at microbes at depth, at pressure in real time, not having to take them up to the surface where they can, of course, expand and the oxygen is different. So we're able to study them here live in real time. That also leads to the question of what the long-term effects are of barometric pressure. So we can bring microbes down from the surface, study them down here in the habitat, and then see how they change over time at a morphological level, so how the body changes, and also at a molecular level. So what's happening to the genes, what RNA is being sequenced, synthesized in there, and that can really hopefully inform our exploration for other extreme environments and on this planet and beyond.
Yeah, so ultimately we had a lot of a reawakening in terms of, hey, okay, there's still legitimate ongoing science that can be conducted out of the habitat. Things that necessarily can't be done elsewhere. And again, realize that there are only 2 underwater habitats currently in operation in the entire United States, both of them in the Key Largo area. And this is the only one you can get into on a relatively easy basis. I mean, it just takes a little bit of money and the right level of training, and you can come down here and do science, just hang out, whatever the case may be. If you want to get on an Aquarius base, so that's a whole other story. I mean, you're going to have to have some very serious training. You have to be a highly qualified scientist with some very specific dive training before you can get a sniff of that habitat, and you probably got to have pretty hefty grant money behind you as well. So, so this really presents a unique opportunity. And Harrison, I mean, you guys got down, the first couple missions. The other thing that you really showed us is that social media is something that we can take better advantage of as an industry to kind of promote marine conservation.
Yeah, sure. So I was interested more in the education outreach perspective of how the habitat can be used to educate the next generation of ocean ambassadors, and Hunter and his team really did a great job at pushing that forward too. They published a paper on it, and I'm excited to see what the future holds.
Yeah, so ultimately, I mean, these guys have looked at it from both standpoints, getting down to some very specific science, and they've also done some social science, right? So we've done some typical science, but we've also done some social science. And while Hunter's paper that he did have published wasn't specific to the underwater habitat, the concepts and the position he's in that led up to that, make that information very applicable to what's going on here. That being said, something very unique happened a couple months ago, 3 or 4 months ago, and that is the 100-day mission. So you may have heard about the 100-day mission. A few months ago, Dr. Joe Dituri, highly qualified retired naval commander with a background in naval diving, his many deep wreck dives, been down to 1,600 feet in the gym suit, hyperbaric medicine specialist. He has a very specific interest in doing some long-term exposure studies for people living at depth and isolating for a long period of time. And so he approached us with the concept of doing a 100-day mission so he could do some experiments and also teach his hyperbaric medicine and his medical school classes out of the habitat. It took us a while to get wrap our heads around that and run the numbers and see if that would be feasible. And at the same point in time, Dr. Joe had a very specific time frame because he wanted to do some of these studies that would be leading up to a conference where he would be speaking and so on and so forth. So ultimately it took us a little bit of time to kind of get on the same page, but it made too much sense in terms of doing some hardcore science and being able to expose the world, if you will, to what this underwater habitat can still do. So even though it was a little bit tight in terms of time frame, we jumped on that. So on March 1st of 2023, we put Joe down in here to start the 100-day mission. Now Joe will be here for the entire 100 days and be doing, like I said, a lot of physiological studies based on exposure and isolation. So we're looking forward to that. But what is also happening as part of the 100-day mission is we, Jules Undersea Lodge, will also be putting on a program that we are right now calling Classroom in the Sea. Who knows if that's going to be the final moniker, but ultimately we want to utilize the habitat and this 100-day mission to spread the message of marine conservation. I mean, we don't have a lot of time, depending on who you speak to or listen to. We may have already passed the threshold, but either way, the time is now to start really taking marine conservation seriously and getting the youth mobilized, because ultimately, certainly my generation and your guys to a lesser extent haven't done the best of jobs of taking care of the environment, and hopefully we can get our act together later in life and kind of help the younger kids take over where we fell off. So that's the idea here. Within that program, we've got some unique things going on. So these guys are going to be taking advantage of, and ultimately, it's going to take quite a bit of effort for us to pull off this 100-day mission, and it's going to take a team, and these guys are a big part of the team. So as I call them my rock star aquanauts, because they've proven time and time again that they understand the mission and they're willing to do what it takes to make it so. And so they're serving right now as my scientific advisors, and ultimately we're going to have them down doing some science, and we're looking at having some ongoing projects that are basically 100 days in length, that we can get some citizens involved, so some citizen science. We definitely want to get some of the younger kids down here if we can, so it's something we're really interested in. Harrison, talk a little bit about kind of the path that you've taken in terms of this kind of hands-on experience, and how that may kind of translate into what we're doing here. So give us a little bit of a
Sure. Yeah. So for the 100-day mission, we're hoping to really involve the youth and the next generation of scientists through the school outlets, and use the habitat as a platform, or an avenue to really push that education and outreach home in marine conservation. So a lot of the research and science I'm going to be looking at for the 100-day mission is going to focus on social science, conservation psychology, marine conservation, which is the area of science that I'm interested in particularly.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, just to follow up a little bit. So, I mean, Harrison actually has formed a company. Go ahead and I don't want to mess it up.
Oh, it's Animal Interaction Program Advisors.
Right. So basically, guided, experiences with experts in the field. It may be a giraffe one time, it may be a dolphin the next, but basically, again, a scientist curated experience, with animals that these kids are likely never to encounter other than behind a glass or a cage in a zoo, but now really are given a chance to really interact on a much more personal level, much greater in-depth, kind of understanding of that particular animal, its habitat, its behaviors, and so on and so forth. And that's the kind of interaction that kind of really will grab a kid. I mean, it sometimes it takes that level of excitement, or kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity to click a switch and give that kid a motivation to go out and do something cool. And so that's why, and we talk about this all the time, so they know my motivation is as many kids as we can get involved in this 100-day mission, whether it's virtually through some of our live streaming that we do, whether it's whether we are able to work with some schools and get put together some programs where we're able to get some kids down here and be involved in some of the science. Ultimately that's the key, is getting as many kids involved as possible, and just motivating them to get involved and take the lead when it comes to marine conservation. One of the things that will ultimately flesh out over time, but right now, again, we've got 100 days before the 100-day mission, and we just really started focusing on it for the last couple of weeks in terms of seriously. So some things are still in flux, but we wanted to share a few things with you. and get it out there as soon as possible. So, like I said, Joe's going to be in for the full 100 days, but we will have about 8 opportunities for scientists, content producers, journalists, whatever the case may be, whatever particular program you might be able to come up with, to come in and do an extended stay. So a 5-night, 6-day mission where you can accomplish, some extended research, produce some content over a longer period of time, something of that nature. So again, these are limited. We've realistically at this point we have 8 that we're looking to fill, and we probably got 3 already spoken for. So stay tuned. We're going to have some contact information available the next day or 2 that we'll make put out there for everybody. But if that piques your interest, if the thought of being able to spend 5 days inside Jules Undersea Lodge during the 100-day mission to accomplish some science, or some other worthwhile endeavor that you think we would be interested in, by all means. At this point, info@jul.com will get you to me. We'll have a new email, I think, in the next day or 2 that'll be more specific. But certainly we are looking to produce as much science during the 100-day mission as possible, and spread that message of marine conservation to as many people as possible. Now, we were talking about it today, and we are still developing a way to involve some citizens, some basic certified divers in the mission as well. And so stay tuned, but we are developing a way that we'll have some citizen science programs available, and a select number of people will be able to come in during the 100-day mission and do an overnight, be certified as an aquanaut, participate in some of our scientific studies, and be able to say that you were part of the 100-day mission. So again, these are things that are coming. We're scrambling really, really hard to put it all together. We've got some exciting news that we hope to be able to share very soon about some corporate sponsorships and so on. But like I said, this is all new things are coming up every day. We're constantly shooting ideas back and forth. I mean, half today was just bouncing ideas off about how we can maximize the reach of the 100-day mission, how we can get as many youth involved as possible, and so on and so forth. So Hunter, why don't you, just off the top of your head, if I put you on the spot, it's too bad, but what are some of your thoughts in terms of what kind of research experiments you might be looking to do as part of the 100-day mission?
Well, let's not understate the fact that we're streaming live from 27 feet down. I mean, 50 years ago tonight, they were down there, and there's a couple of film photographs from in the habitat. Right now, we can spread our message globally, in real time, which is very exciting. So I think the science we do down here has to have that component of storytelling. We have to have an interesting factor to it. You can do all the science you want. You can do that very intense new description of a species, get all the molecular work. That's great. That has its place. But where's the other side of it? How do you get people, especially youth, engaged and excited in what you're doing? And you really have to do both. So I think telling that story combined will be very interesting. So the hard science with the outreach combined will make a really nice package.
Yeah, and I think that that is, and again, like I said, we wish we could say more, but we can't. So give us another week or so, and you'll see. But kind of and again, a lot of what I want to give credit where credit is due. A lot of what you're hearing me talk about is to a great extent the vision of Jan Koblik. So if you don't know who Jan Koblik is the individual who basically designed and brought this habitat to life, and who has stewarded it through its 50 years of life, and really, it's just an incredible marine exploration pioneer. So very privileged to be working with Jan during the 100-day mission. But he is absolutely laser focused on utilizing this habitat and this 100-day mission to spread the message of marine conservation as widely as possible. Really, the one of the things that's kind of been an eye-opener for Jan was the amount of business we've done with YouTube over this past year and a half, and so that was one of the factors that allowed us. And this guy bringing in Brave Wilderness, didn't hurt as well. We're waiting. I think November 30th we're looking forward to a debut of the Brave Wilderness 24-hour Aquanaut Challenge. So we're really looking forward to that. But we've had, I just did the math, in the last year and a half, 50 million views on about 7 videos that came out of the habitat. So that's a pretty substantial outreach program. It's hard to duplicate in many diving arenas. So that was like, oh, hey, Jules Undersea Lodge is a point of interest. It brings eyes to the screen, if you will, and maybe we can capitalize on that. So that's, we've got the 100-day mission. We're going to have 8 week-long missions that'll be running during the 100 days. We'll have some citizen science programs coming on, but probably what Jan would consider the flagship of the program is that we will plan to have 10 live stream programs coming out of the habitat that will be dealing with the major issues in marine conservation, and with the history of the habitat, with the history of the people that worked in the habitat. We have access to get some of the leading scientists, leading experts in these areas to come and kind of give us the what's what, bring us up to speed on the latest in climate change, in microplastics, in pollution, in shark management, et cetera, and pairing those up with some of the leading YouTube producers, other celebrities, influencers, so that as we do these presentations, they're amplified because we do have another person in the room besides the expert that has the ability to reach millions of people, that has their own following, and brings us more into the mainstream. So diving and marine science tends to be niche over here. I mean, if you know, and you're very passionate about it. But if you don't know, you don't know, and you don't know anything about it, and you think people breathe oxygen when they're scuba diving, and the sharks are everywhere, and so on and so forth. So it's a big part of what is going to be happening is these live stream presentations as well. So again, we're gonna wrap this up because we've still got some other things that we're down here not just to hang out, but we recognize that, hey, the 100-day mission is gonna jump on us sooner than later, and so we've been down in the habitat all day, kind of putting an eye on it in terms of, okay, what do we need in terms of storage? How, what are the extra areas in the habitat that we might be able to put away some extra supplies so that we don't have to come down here as often, and so on and so forth. So just kind of thinking it through. It's one thing when you're coming down for an overnight. It's a whole other story when you're going to spend 100 days. And one of the interesting things that happened during the 50th anniversary as well is that we had the previous record setters. We kind of got everybody together at one time. So we had Rick Presley, who was the 60-day, who had done 60 days, and then we had Bruce and Jessica, who you can't see it, but right behind me is the 73 days, 2 hours and 14 minutes record. So they were here as well, and so Joe got to pick their mind and say, okay, you were down for 60 days. What what issues or what things came up that you didn't think about, or hey, Bruce and Jessica, you were down for 73 days. What kind of issues, things do you want to share that we can not make the same mistakes, or utilize that time saver, that efficiency that you figured out. So again, very exciting time. Exciting to have these guys along for the ride. We were going to have Sharky and Julie down. Got Sharky out and Julie Alexander are going to be working with me as well, part of the team. So as we continue to flesh things out and develop the team, we'll continue to reach out and let you guys know what's going on. And if you didn't tune in live, then hopefully we'll catch you on the next one. But either way, we look forward to it, and we're really excited for the 100-day mission. Thanks for coming along for the ride, guys. Much aloha. We'll catch you on the next one. You're a pro? I am. Sure. I've had experience.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to